Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we're going to jump right into it. So Pence, over the weekend, dropped out of the presidential race. And I want to talk about this a little bit because that was never a legitimate campaign. Out of everyone running, all those wannabes in the primary, he is the most unelectable of all.
And the most unlikable.
Just slightly a little more unelectable than Ron DeSantis. But here's the thing. There's two reasons, maybe more than two. But I'll go through I won't put a number on it. But there's some other reasons.
Several reasons.
Several reasons. There's several reasons why Pence was really running. And he knew he wasn't going to win the nomination. He knows that conservative voters hate him for reasons that we don't have to tell you. You guys know why we hate Mike Pence. But there's a couple things in play with Mike Pence. One, and this is the biggest one, he was in it for money. And
absolutely.
When people run for public office, they make a lot of money. Sometimes they themselves get paid by the campaign. But if a lot of times in like a presidential campaign, they may not because it's more high profile, even though it's not illegal. But friends and family get paid, and they have the equivalent of donors. You know, the people that are fundraisers. There are people who are professional political fundraisers, and they get a commission on all the money they raise, and they give kickbacks to the family and people that work on the campaign, who are usually family. There's all kinds of things, okay? And that was the main reason he was running, to make money. But then a few weeks back, I played some of this interview on YouTube. Tucker Carlson interviewed Mike Pence and a bunch of other candidates, if you remember, at some forum a few weeks ago. And he gets Mike Pence on stage, and Mike Pence is complaining that Ukraine doesn't have enough tanks and airplanes. But particularly, he said tanks and airplanes, fighter jets. And Tucker said, excuse me, but, you know, there's no southern border. There's a fentanyl crisis. He went through a list. He says, why are we concerned about Ukraine? Obviously, Mike Pence, if you watch his interviews that he's done during this campaign, and I know most haven't, but I have
to. There goes my phone again.
Every show, you drop that phone on the floor.
Well, I got it precariously balanced on this. It is so damaged.
You have Apple Care, right?
This is beyond Apple Care. I'm going to just put it on the floor.
There you go. Yes. You might as well just, yeah.
I'll just throw it against the wall.
Oh, my goodness.
All my phones end up like that. I drop them constantly, but it's still working. Just don't take it out of the case.
You're going to be the first person in the family with the iPhone 15 because that one's going to – but anyway, back to this. I have watched some of the interviews Pence has done since he's been running because I have to watch these snakes to know what's going on. And most everything he talks about involves sending something that cost billions and millions of dollars
Nikki
to
Haley
Ukraine.
Too. She's working for the same people.
Yeah. So Mike Pence is working for the military-industrial complex, and part of his campaign – was a paid infomercial to send money to Ukraine, all right, to get that message in the news cycle and keep pumping that message. And those are the main two reasons he was running. Third, when all these people started running, if you remember, it was before all the different arrests and mugshots and everything was done to President Trump, and they all had a fantasy that the MAGA voters would turn against Trump and drop Trump, or Trump might even drop out with all these arrests, in particular the mugshot in Fulton County. And they never because they all have Trump derangement syndrome, and they only surround themselves with Trump derangement syndrome sufferers. They think these weird things that MAGA is going to drop him. Because this is the kind of things they say. These are Bible-believing Christians. They're very conservative and tough on crime. And when they see Donald Trump with a mugshot and 4 indictments, as much as they like the guy, the law and order, these are law and order MAGA people, they're going to drop him, and then they think these crazy thoughts. So that was another reason. But yesterday, President Trump gave 2 speeches. And he said, Pence dropped out. He should endorse me. He said, everyone dropping out is endorsing him, which has happened twice. Larry Elder and that other guy whose name I can't remember offhand, not an important person. And,
does he really want Pence's endorsement? That's never going to happen. But I wouldn't want Pence to endorse him.
No, that's a stain.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a good thing to want.
That's an anti-endorsement.
He wants the opposite.
That's like getting a David Duke endorsement or something stupid like that.
I think one of the main also reasons he was running is to promote his stupid book.
Pence.
Every sentence in my book. In my book, this is his last hurrah to make some money because politically he's done, and maybe he'll go back to talk radio, God help us, or whatever, but he's got nothing going on. And he's promoting his book. He's promoting the war like Nikki Haley. She is the worst. She's out there like waving her fists, screaming at people, like she's a warmonger. It's just incredible. And you gotta, and she worked for the UN, maybe that's why she's that way. But you gotta think that somebody's behind that, getting them to promote. And Chris Christie's there to bash Trump, and that fell apart because Trump knew that, and he wouldn't go to the debates because of that.
Yeah, and one of those organizations that Trump spoke at yesterday on Saturday was one of the Jewish organizations.
Yeah, that was a good speech.
And all the people spoke there, and Nikki Haley did. And I read today that Nikki Haley, when she was done, she did not leave. I read this in an article today. It was the media are on this Nikki Haley PR tour. And I can't remember where I read this. I tweeted a story that had this about it, but I'm not going to look it up, even though it's just on my Twitter feed. But the article said that Nikki Haley did not leave until she shook the hand of every person who wanted to shake her hand. And I'm thinking, who wants to shake Nikki Haley's hand? The only people that are interested in shaking Nikki Haley's hand, and I don't mean this in a negative way, are Indian Americans because she's Indian. And there are people in the Indian American community. I don't mean like Native American Indians like Cherokee or Seminole. I mean like Gandhi Indians. They have some respect for her. But other than that, who is interested in shaking the hand of Nikki Haley? She was Trump's ambassador to the UN.
Yeah.
And I guess she thinks it's a big deal to do that as a woman. She's not the first woman to do that. And who cares? And
she seems like somebody with a very fragile ego, like most of these people are in this business. And, after this election season is over, they're not going to be getting any phone calls anymore to a lot of these people that have made a living out of bashing Trump. Once the election's over, I think that's going to end.
Well, here's what I'm wondering, okay?
So I think they're nervous about that, the phone calls ending, the bookings.
A couple months ago, all of these Republican wannabe jerks that were running against Trump in the primary, they were obsessing over signing a pledge that they would endorse whoever the eventual nominee was. And I haven't heard one reporter ask Pence or anyone else, will they endorse Trump since they've dropped out? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say something. This is crazy. Okay, what I'm about to say. Okay, I know this is kind of crazy. I haven't thought this through too much. This just popped in my head. So it may not make sense. It may be crazy. It may not make sense. I probably shouldn't even throw this out there. Okay.
Quite a build up there.
No, I know. It's so stupid. I'm almost embarrassed to say this. They're so sick in their efforts to stop Trump, these uniparty establishment Republicans. Do you think it is all possible that they might try to run some psych ops operation? Remember, the deep state's after Trump, right? And have someone like Mike Pence endorse Trump because they realize, well, you know what? These MAGA voters hate Trump like the plague. Hate Pence like the plague. These MAGA voters hate Pence like the plague. If Pence endorses Trump, they'll hate Trump and they'll be suspicious of Trump because all of a sudden Pence is endorsing him. These people are so desperate. I would not be surprised if they run a psych op and get like a Mike Pence to endorse Trump.
All I know is this. They are thinking 24/7 on ways to take Donald Trump
That's all
down.
they think about. That in Ukraine.
All they think about.
That in
they
Ukraine
talk
funding.
about it at dinner. They dream about it. They wake up. It's the first thought in their head. The last thought when they go to bed is trying to destroy Trump, bring Trump down. It's so much energy and time spent and wasted, and none of their efforts have worked so far. He's more popular than ever. And I am sure it is beyond frustrating for them. They're in a constant state of but liberals are always frustrated. I mean, they're never freaking happy. And they just seem so frustrated over all of this.
So the media are always going to grab on to anything Trump says and run with it and everything else. And one of the groups that President Trump spoke at yesterday was the Jewish group, like I said a few minutes ago. There's an article in the Daily Mail. Here's the headline. Trump cheered at Jewish GOP dinner despite praise for Hezbollah. And he said they were smart right after the attack. And he says that about a lot of people. And then when he says that about people, like he'll say that about the Chinese president, he'll say that about Putin.
He said that about the people at where that guy drove the car.
No, he didn't say they were smart. He said there were some good people there.
That's right.
And I'm not talking about the racist white supremacist.
But he does say they're smart when he's speaking about a lot. You're right, a lot of these types of people.
There's two things about when Trump says people are smart that are evil people. First, he clarifies that statement quite often if you listen to his speeches. He says, how can you be the leader of a country of over 1 billion people and be a stupid person, right? And there's something to say about that, okay? They understand what he means. He's not approving of them or anything. But then the other thing is this, I think, with Trump. I don't know what the right word is for that, but it's like a mannerism or it's something that he says kind of as a habit. When he says someone's smart, and they take it literally, they chop off the second part of it like they do everything else he says.
Right.
So that they can use it against him. And everyone knows he doesn't support Hezbollah or Hamas or any of these groups, and he doesn't support the Chinese, and he doesn't support Putin or any of these other jerks. But there are evil people that are smart. That's how they get in power and stay in power. And, Hamas—
Well, I think he also likes to say a group like that is smart because he wants to juxtapose it to our people who he likes to call stupid.
Well, the other thing that he says about when he says this, he says he says, for example, Putin. I've heard him say this about Putin in China in particular. He says, if I go around saying there's stupid people, are they going to want to talk to me when I'm telling them how it is? No. He said, it's also a way to, it's a compliment, of course, of sorts. Backhanded compliment.
It's a way to manipulate.
It's a manipulation more than it is. Yes.
And he knows these are guys that have very fragile egos.
Yes.
He's dealt with this kind of person his entire career.
Exactly.
The Napoleon complex, guys that love power, and they love to have their ego soothed and pumped up. And I think that's a big part of it as well. But, you're right. The media takes it out of context. And they don't what they do, what the press does when somebody like Trump or any Republican speaks, really, you could give a 3-hour speech full of really good content and really important things, but they're looking for that one soundbite that they can use to make the person look bad.
Yes.
That's all they do. And that's why they're there, because they want to take that one 30-second or 10-second blip or that half a sentence or a couple sentences and blast it out there and try to paint. They take it totally out of context and they forget all the positive things. I watched that speech he said about Israel, how they're our friend, they'll always defend them and this and that. They forget all that, but they hone in on that one sentence that he said to paint his speech is something that it wasn't.
Exactly.
And to paint him in the wrong light. That's what they do. That's what the media does.
It's like on January 6th, let your voices be heard peacefully, and they cut off the peacefully
That's
part.
why you have to watch these things, if you can, for yourself. Not hear from other people or wait for the media to break it up and edit it and chew it up and spit it out in the way they want you to see it. If you can, watch it for yourself out of the horse's mouth and make your own decisions based on what Trump says. Don't let the media filter it for you and put it in a nice, pretty package and say, "Here you go. This is what you're supposed to see."
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Now let me go through a little bit of this. And by the way, Hamas and Hezbollah, one of the things they have done for decades with the Palestinians is to the Palestinians, they come off as a charitable organization. They build and pay for hospitals and pay people's electric bills and give them free food and things like this. So among the Palestinians, they're like a charitable organization. Right. And you understand what I mean? They don't view the media want you to think that the Palestinians are being held hostage by Hezbollah and Hamas. That is not true. Hamas and Hezbollah are to the Palestinians what the United States Marine Corps are to the American people. You understand what I mean? That's how they view them. Mm-hmm. So let me go through this a little bit. This is that article, though, where they lied about Trump praising them. Donald Trump received cheers from a crowd at a Jewish GOP dinner in Nevada, despite his recent praise for Hezbollah. The United States will stand with Israel 100% without hesitation, without qualification, and without any apology. We're not going to be apologizing, Trump said to massive cheers. He received more vocal support than Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley at the same event. It was a crowd of 1,500. They held their phones to film Trump, who touted his unwavering support for Israel, wiping out the Palestinian Hamas militants. His comments come as Israel prepares for a ground invasion. It goes on with that. Trump said that if he were elected, he would sanction Iran, crack down on pro-Palestinian protest on U.S. campuses. He says, if you spill a drop of America blood, we will spill a gallon of yours, Trump said. Wow. Very strong speech that he gave. He did not address comments he made criticizing Netanyahu. You know, a lot of people are saying Netanyahu dropped the ball. I don't know. Trump says he did. He did. You know, they got hit. You know, I mean, I don't know how smart it is to have a civilian music festival along the border of Gaza without a military presence there. The army should always be on that border. Mm-hmm. At the same conference, Nikki Haley criticized the isolationist trend in the Republican Party. She cited lackluster support for Ukraine. And it's worth – see, here she is. Everything with her is about the military-industrial complex. Nikki Haley said, mark my words, those who would abandon Ukraine are at risk of abandoning Israel tomorrow, said Haley. See, they're trying to connect
they're trying
Israel
to link those two.
Well, our new Speaker of the House, this great Speaker of the House we have, he – you know, we only control one house of the Congress. We don't have the White House. So we can't pass legislation, but what he is doing, which is very, very smart, he's using Ukraine funding as a bargaining chip to get things done that he wants done. So if they want Ukraine funding, they're going to have to go along with the MAGA Speaker of the House to get things done. And he said all weekend long, multiple times, that he is not going to let them connect the Israeli funding and the Ukraine funding. They're not going to be part of the
I don't know why we
thing.
have to fund any of this nonsense.
No,
we've been giving
agree.
Both these countries money and weapons for years and years and years. We've been supporting them. Oh,
I dropped my phone.
There
that
you
time,
go.
Kelly.
Well, the dog just came in and she's upsets things a little bit with her constant pacing.
We're not broadcasting from our normal studio. No. We're in a different location today. That's why we're dropping our phones. I don't have the place where I normally rest.
We don't have a table here.
Yeah, I don't have a table to rest my phone on like I normally do.
Yeah, but you know, I don't agree with this funding of these wars. But at the same time, I don't want these you know, I don't know what's going on in the Ukraine, but like Israel, I don't want them to not be able to defend themselves. But I feel like they've been preparing for this for a long time. Mm-hmm. Netanyahu has been warning about this for decades. And, you know, I think we should help Israel for sure, but I don't know about this funding right now. I mean, I don't know if it's like an automatic response. I mean, the minute it happened, boom. All right, let's write him a check for $100 billion.
Yeah.
And I mean, America is just stretched so thin. And I think people are, you know, Democrats, I've said this before, all they know how to do is throw money at a problem. Mm-hmm. Because that's all that they're about is money, and everybody gets their little piece. It's very corrupt. Well, the government is always going to be corrupt.
I will agree with you, Kathy. I mean, I am very pro-Israel. However, I find it hard to believe that they need U.S. aid for their military right now.
Oh, yeah. They got probably one of the best militaries in the world.
They're always almost in a state of war over there.
Yeah.
We've been supplying them and funding them since 1948.
Exactly.
They're loaded to bear.
I'm sure they got such an arsenal built up.
Yeah, exactly. And they have plenty of military equipment.
You give money to a country in need when they need it, not ahead of time when they already have their coffers full. You know what I mean? You give them money like with World War II. Obviously, maybe if we went in earlier, we could have saved some lives and everything. I understand that's important, but I don't think we really went in, obviously, till we were attacked. But the war was going on for quite a while. Now, were we funding?
Yeah.
From the very beginning. So this is a habit.
Yeah, we had this thing called the Lend-Lease program with England, and we gave them things.
And did they pay us back at all? Did these countries ever
No, they paid us
return
back.
in kind?
England, they paid us back, England, with the lies of WMDs in Iraq, the fake Russian dossier for Christopher Steele. That's what they paid us back with, the British.
They're still pissed over the Revolutionary War. They'll never get over it.
But, I don't really think Israel needs our help militarily right now. I think they've got plenty of stockpiles. They have not had a major war in many, many years.
Yeah, if they need it, then I don't mind. But I don't know this whole thing. It happens and you write a check the next day.
Well, here's the thing about it. At some point, if they have a sustained conflict, they would need our help. Sure. I don't think they need it now.
Right. But let's wait and see if that happens.
Yeah, but Washington, if you come out and say we're not going to give Israel anything, it comes off as like you're supporting the terrorists. So no one's going to say don't give Israel. If Israel needs things, they should get whatever they need.
I agree.
I think they probably have enough of a stockpile right now.
Right.
But hey, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there is a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
From author L. Falloon comes the epic adventure, The Boy Who Knew Fire. Thomas Cain series Book 1, available on Amazon. In The Boy Who Knew Fire, meet Thomas. He's an ordinary boy who discovers an extraordinary destiny on his 13th birthday. He's about to become the shepherd, a guardian of the elements, and the key to Earth's future. But there's a catch. The awakening of the new elements is still 5 years away. That is, until an ancient adversary, known as the Null, awakens them prematurely, throwing the world into chaos. Now, Thomas must rise to the challenge and become Earth's most unlikely hero. In a heroic journey that's filled with twists, turns, and unimaginable challenges, he's destined to protect the elements and save the world. Order your copy of this thrilling and heartwarming story of courage, destiny, and the power of unlikely heroes. The Boy Who Knew Fire, Thomas Cain series Book 1, from author L. Falloon, available on Amazon. Are you ready to unlock your child's creativity and imagination? Introducing B-Block's Building Blocks STEM toy that offers endless possibilities for building and fun. Available online at amazon.com/B-Blocks. That's BEBLOX. With B-Block's Building Blocks STEM toy, the building adventures are limitless. They're available in 2 sets, 250 pieces and 500 pieces. The more pieces you have, the more you can create. These vibrant and sturdy building tiles come in 8 different colors, allowing your child to explore colors, shapes, and designs in an exciting and fun way. It's a tool for learning development by stimulating creativity. These STEM projects enhance fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, and even introduce basic geometry, as well as architectural concepts. Whether it's a birthday or any occasion, B-Block's Building Block STEM toy makes a smart gift idea for both boys and girls aged 4 to 12. Don't miss out on this incredible STEM toy that sparks imagination and learning. Go right now to amazon.com/B-Blocks. That's BEBLOX. Amazon.com/B-Blocks. From author Sherry Anderson comes a journey of resilience and strength, a journey of overcoming the unthinkable, divorce. In the book, From Scratch, Moving On After Divorce, available on Amazon. This powerful book is a story of being shattered into a million pieces and still finding the courage to mend and rise above it all, even when the pain and shame feel overwhelming. From Scratch, Moving On After Divorce is your guiding light and offers insight into the healing process and the power of release. Author Sherry Anderson wrote this book with a purpose: to help those who are struggling to move forward after divorce or a breakup. This must-read book will help you identify what's been holding you back and encourage you to take a closer look at yourself. It's a guide that will propel you past the pain, helping you find the strength to begin your healing and embrace the new you. From Scratch, Moving On After Divorce, from author Sherry Anderson, is available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Kindle Unlimited. Order your copy right now and begin your journey of healing and self-discovery. From Scratch, Moving On After Divorce, from author Sherry Anderson, on Amazon.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. You know, there's a new trend going on in Congress with conservatives. And I've played some of these clips in the last few days. Conservatives are confronting Democrat members of Congress in the hallways of Congress. There was one that I shared the other day that on Friday's show that was brilliant. That one reporter that went up to Tlaib, she ran into her office and started screaming at everyone. That was brilliant. There's been a few others, and they've been very, very good. And there's a new one today. The woman from Libs of TikTok went and confronted AOC.
Oh, the actual lady who runs the channel?
Yeah, and she saw, the Libs of TikTok girl, and she's in the hallway. It's in Congress. It's in the office building.
Can anybody walk through Congress, or do you need a press pass or something? I mean, you just walk up to these people?
I guess you can. I didn't realize.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if this is new since the Republican new speaker is a little lax. I don't know, but she went up to her. She was kind of far away. AOC comes out of this office door, and the Libs of TikTok woman is like 20, 30 feet away from AOC, and then she runs. And AOC stands there and waits because she's like, an adoring fan. And then when she got close, AOC recognized her. And she took off. She's, This is the thing about that, okay? I know there have been some good moments, like that one with Tlaib running into the office and screaming.
That was good.
It's not really a smart trend for conservatives to be doing this because I love libs of TikTok, but it was a failed attempt to get to, it wasn't as
well. Then why did she upload it? These aren't live. She doesn't have to upload it if it doesn't work.
Well, it wasn't a failed attempt to her. It just looked a little juvenile. Like the guy that was ran Tlaib into her own office. He's a reporter from Real America Voice, and if you don't watch Real America's Voice, you should. You can download the app free we have it on our TV. You can download it on your TV. You can download it on your phone or iPads and everything. Very good. He handled it like a professional reporter. He was asking her serious questions.
Well, he is a professional reporter.
And some of these others have been asking serious questions in a professional way. Libs of TikTok was like, she's not a professional reporter. She does great stuff on TikTok. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But what's going to happen, there are a lot of conservatives that want to go viral on TikTok and
she's got merch to sell
and everything.
I mean, that helps her brand to something go viral. That's how it works right now.
So what's going to happen is some people are going to start pulling stunts to try to go viral, and at some point it's going to backfire. Get old. Get old or backfire.
Yeah.
And one thing liberals love to be more than anything is a victim. And when you're chasing them down the hall, like the Libs of TikTok did, without like a real professional way, like the Real America's Voice guy did, you're setting the conservatives up to turn the Democrats into victims.
Here's the tip: if you do something like this, don't upload it unless it's really, really good.
Well, she thinks it's good.
She thinks it's good. Liberal look bad.
She thinks it's good, but it's not.
Well.
It's
that's
not
the problem,
and it looks like amateur hour.
Why don't you do things like that? You're not confrontational. It's so funny because you're confrontational on the radio, and people, when they meet you in person, think that you're that way in person. Brian is a very nice guy. He's very he never yells. I yell sometimes. I have a temper. I don't think Brian has ever yelled at me in 27 years, honest to God, and he's had reason to.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm not the easiest person to be around sometimes. And Brian is very mild-mannered, and people don't realize that. He's very nice. He's a sweet guy. And when we go if we go to like a family event, we don't go to parties, okay? But if we go to like a family event, Brian doesn't walk in the room like really loud, hey, look at me. He's like the quietest guy in the room. He'll just go sit with a beer and just chit chat. And he's just not a loudmouth. He doesn't need attention like that. So I think people because you're very different on the radio, you're like, you're more confrontational. And I think people expect you to be that way. So you don't like to go up to people. You could go to events. You've been to things with Laura Loomer. We know how she is. But you don't get in people's faces unless they get in your face first.
That's a whole nother story.
Which happened with the CNN cameraman.
Yeah.
You're like Donald Trump.
CBS.
If they start with you, then Brian definitely does not back down. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
But you don't go up and start with people.
No.
Why do you? Because that's how a lot of these guys, like Candace Owens, would go up to people or be on campuses. Why is that not your personal style? Are you old school, or you're just not into this viral?
First of all,
chasing viral stuff.
If I went around starting political arguments with people out in public all the time, I'd be like a lunatic.
That's what people do, though. Now, that's what people do now to go viral, to like this libs of TikTok. It's just not your style.
It's not my style. I guess I'm a little more classy. You know, if I were to do something like that, like for example,
believe me, I'm glad you don't.
The guy from Real America's Voice. Okay, he is a professional, and I would do what he did. He had a question.
Yeah, but he knew what he was. He knew it would trigger
Congressman Tlaib.
He knew it would trigger her.
Will you criticize Hamas for their attack? Yeah. The libs of TikTok was like, I'm here. I'm libs of TikTok. Here's AOC. We're rivals. There wasn't like a thought out purpose for
it was like a stunt.
Yes,
and stunts to me are very self-serving.
Yes.
And it's about that person building up their brand and desperate to be like they're important. That's how I view it. I don't see it as a professional way to handle it. It goes viral and you might end up in the Daily Mail or sell some merch. We sell merch. We have stuff that we sell, but Brian and I don't pull crazy stunts.
No.
Or go down to the beach and confront people about Trump. You've had a couple times where you were doing a live stream like at Starbucks with your MAGA hat, but you weren't. People were coming up to you.
Yeah,
you weren't. So it's just wearing that hat a way to trigger people more.
Yeah,
more quietly or
I
haven't done that since that lunatic.
I almost did it today, but I
some crazy guy came up to you.
I had a couple months back. I used to do I would either do it on Saturdays or Sundays. I haven't done it in a while.
You haven't done it in a while.
But I used to live stream from Starbucks on the weekends in the mornings. And I'd get there when they first open at 6 a.m.
We have a very nice Starbucks near our house. We have a couple, but we have one brand new that's really nice.
Yeah, and people give me looks and stare me down because of my hat sometimes. Yeah. And I've had some weirdos. Like there was one guy, I went for a couple weeks in a row, he would come and sit behind me. And stare at me. No, there was another guy. There was one like regular guy. He would sit behind me and stare at me.
Stare you down.
And then there was a homeless guy who lives at the Starbucks.
Well, I think they got rid of him.
And he would stare at me.
Yeah.
And then the last time I did it a couple months ago, this strange guy got really nasty and confrontational with me and was saying crazy things that I'm not going to say now. I haven't gone back since. Maybe one of the next couple weekends coming up. Maybe one weekend I'll do a live stream at Starbucks again. Yeah, because what happens when I do my live streams from Starbucks?
Because you don't like to get in fights with people and out in public.
No,
it's just not your person.
What I do
is
do
it on the radio, but that's different.
Yeah, I set up my iPhone. I have a tripod, and I put my iPhone on a tripod, and I sit at a table after I get my coffee. I sit at a table outside, set up my live stream. I'm wearing my MAGA hat. And people come by and they give me looks and sometimes they say things and things like that. And I haven't done it in a couple months because that one guy was threatening. I mean, he was a dangerous person.
Yeah.
He was a very, very dangerous person, and my safety was very much at risk, and so I haven't gone back since, but maybe I'll go back and this weekend or next week. Next weekend I might have something going on, but maybe I'll go back and do that to the Starbucks. I just don't think people should be out there confronting just to be a troll. And when you do this in Congress, what happens when you do this in Congress, though, because I don't want people to get the idea that I don't think conservatives should confront Democrats. There goes the phone again. I don't want people to think that I'm saying conservatives should not confront Democrats. What I'm saying is, when they do it, you want to have a question, and you want to have a question that no matter what they say, it makes them look like what they are, like Congresswoman Tlaib. Will you condemn Hamas for their attack on innocent civilians? You just can't go up and yell, "I'm here and you're there, and and we're here together." It's juvenile, and it makes our MAGA movement look bad. The MAGA movement's got to have a little more class, is all I'm saying, and direction.
Well, I have to say, the libs of TikTok, I love her feed, and she has definitely brought to light a lot of very important things. But I'm not impressed with her personally at all.
Her Twitter is spectacular. I mean, she's got the best Twitter even better than James Woods. And what she's done is really good stuff. One last thing on Pence I forgot to mention in the last segment. In his farewell speech, whatever he wants to call that yesterday, he says, "It's not my time, but it's still your time." I mean, this guy, Mike Pence, and when he had this smirk on his face.
He is the phoniest.
Oh.
You were right about him all along, because I used to like him, and phony. You said he's like Joel Osteen. He is so phony.
He is so phony. So I wanted to share this article here. Anna Kasparian, she co-hosts the Young Turks with that guy we were talking about on the last episode. And she's very liberal, but she's been coming around and sounding a lot more Republican all the time. And I'll just share this. Anna Kasparian took aim at crime-ridden San Francisco and said that if you go there in your car will be broken into and you'll be robbed. She also singled out the nonprofit industry that has grown around the issue of homelessness, which pays executives huge salaries while not solving the problem. See, that's a problem, like with the unions. All these do-gooder organizations, the homeless charities, the unions, the people that run them make six figures a year. Do the 6 and 7 figure a year people in charge of the homeless charities want homelessness to be ended, or do they want to keep it because they make a lot of money? Kasparian has been just coming around as like very conservative on a lot of issues.
Well, because liberals are so radical with their ideas and what's happening that just having common sense now is like you sound more conservative, because liberals have gone so far to the left that being against crime, all of a sudden you're like a conservative. I mean, because liberals are for crime.
Yeah.
It's scary. You know, I worry. Our daughter lives in LA, but she lives outside of the city. She's not in the main area, thank goodness, because I would really be uncomfortable with that. She lives like in a suburb outside. It's like a 45-minute drive away. So she's in a very safe area. But these cities like LA, Detroit, I don't know, New York, San Francisco, they have completely just gone astray. These once great cities, the liberals are letting it happen. They have these DAs that are letting criminals and mentally ill people go free. They're not charging them. They're not locking them up. And the people that live there, the businesses I don't understand why they're letting this happen other than they're getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
Because stores are closing, major stores, Target, Walmart's, Walgreens, because they're getting robbed so much. I don't think they've overturned that law in California that says you can steal $1,200 or less, because people, I don't know why they ever imposed that law. I don't understand that. Is it stupidity? Well, it's crazy.
I don't know, but Anna Kasparian, and how she's been becoming conservative on things, this is what happens a lot of times with liberals, okay? When a liberal is involved, you're seeing this with Bill Maher. When liberals are involved in some type of dynamic where they have to defend liberalism, eventually they start to realize it's indefensible, and many liberals end up becoming conservatives and never really admit it. Like, I think Bill Maher, other than his hatred of Christianity, because he hates Christians, but other than his
God,
other than his hatred of religion and Christianity in particular, Bill Maher is a conservative.
And
I don't care what he says.
He absolutely is a conservative.
He is a big conservative.
I think he's afraid to admit it because of his career, and he knows Hollywood's liberal.
Yeah,
and he's afraid to come out and say that. But if you listen to him, the guy sounds more conservative than ever.
Yeah,
but is he really conservative, or are the liberals so radical that, like I said, even just having common sense labels you a conservative? Democrats have always been, kooky in their ideas and all this, don't get me wrong. But they're so radical now that even just having normal ideas of crime and things, people are like, well, he's a conservative now. He does sound conservative, or does he just have common sense that the liberals seem to have lost?
Well, what's going to end up happening with the Democrats is they're going to lose. They're going to lose big.
I hope so.
They're not just going to lose the presidency. They're going to lose seats in the House. They're going to lose some seats in the Senate because they've gotten so radical. They've gotten so loopy with their ideas that a lot of people that are lifelong Democrats, they don't support this. They just keep their mouth shut because they're afraid, like Bill Maher.
Well, they really need – now they have this one guy challenging Biden, but I don't know who the hell he is. Cuomo said that if he didn't have that sex scandal, he would have run against Biden.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he isn't running, why that's stopping him. Liberals won't care. But maybe there's other things I think in that he doesn't want coming out. That's what I'm thinking it's about. But they really need somebody strong to challenge him and to say things have gotten so radical, we're going to pull it back. But they're so afraid of being labeled things on social media with these young. The problem is you have young people that are Gen Z and young millennials that live on their phone and they do nothing all day but tweet and leave comments and disparage people that don't think like them, that don't embrace transgender, don't embrace pansexual, don't embrace this or that. If you don't think like them, then you're a bigot, you're a horrible person. And if a politician comes out and says, well, we're a little radical here, we need to, then they'll be like, you're a bigot, you're this, you're that. And they're afraid of that. They're afraid. I know most of these people know what's going on, but they're afraid to come forward and say so.
And I'll tell you,
or they'll say you're too much like Trump.
As an example of how the liberal ideas have gotten so crazy, we've heard all this wokeness into this new Snow White live action movie. Disney has pulled the release of that movie. They put it off till 2025. And I think Disney is not ever going to release that movie.
I agree with you. I think that's going to be like the one movie that they made, the Batgirl or something, didn't there? A Catwoman or something.
There was a Batgirl movie that they didn't release.
They spent like $100 million on it. And, I just can't imagine studios doing this, but the movies they're making suck. They suck now,
this
movie, the actors are awful, so they don't want to release them.
What happened with this new Snow White, a couple things that happened with it. And, Disney has obviously got well-deserved negative publicity from conservatives. But in the new live-action Snow White, they didn't even have 7 dwarves. They called them little men or something.
Magical creatures.
Because
and they're weird-looking things.
Yeah, because the actor that played Tyrion Lannister on Game of Thrones was criticizing it. And
there you go. So they changed everything.
So they did not have dwarfs in the 7 Dwarfs movie. And then the actress that plays Snow White was attacking the original movie from the 30s and said that the prince is a stalker and she's not waiting for her prince to come and all this stuff. And it's gotten a lot of negative publicity, so much so that the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's outfit, they are doing they've released a trailer claiming they're going to do a Snow White movie with Brett Cooper. And, the thing with Brett Cooper,
that's kind of a smart move on his. That's kind of a smart move to do, I think.
I saw the trailer. She's a very good actress, but she looks like Ben Shapiro in a dress.
Well, that's the problem.
She looks like his fraternal twin. And she's and she's a very good actress, though. I've seen her act.
They look like identical twins.
And even in that trailer, she has no dialogue, but just her facial expressions. She's a very talented actress. She's just not pretty enough to be Snow White. But Disney is probably never going to release that movie because the conservative blowback would cost them more money than all the money they poured into the movie, which is, by the way, an unfinished movie. They haven't finished the movie post-production. So
why don't they fix it and put the little people back?
It's unfixable because...
Are they afraid to make it just from the original now? It's like they don't know what to do.
It's unfixable because the actress went out there and attacked men and traditional romance and marriage and everything. So it's unfixable. But the fact that Disney has pushed that movie off until 2025, it's the anti-woke response to Disney, shows that the conservative movement has taken a big, big move against Disney, and Disney is responding to that. And, conservatives, if they are responding in a positive way to our protest of them, you've got to start thinking, well, maybe we could work with them. You know what I mean? If they're going to bend to what the conservatives are asking for, you can't continue to punish them, or maybe you can, but maybe you shouldn't continue to punish them if they are caving to our demands. Now, I want to, of course, thank our Patreon supporters for their support. And, Patreon supporters, don't forget, go to the Patreon page. There's all kinds of exclusive content there that we put nowhere else. And a lot of times, Patreon supporters, you have access to things before anyone else. Like today, I posted up on Patreon, I saw this was so strange. I saw these 2 photographs of Steve Kane that someone was selling on eBay. And I bought them. And there were photographs that were taken by the Miami Herald newspaper back in 1991.
An interesting fact, Steve is your age in those pictures.
That's right. Yeah.
He's 52.
Yeah, exact same age I am now, Steve Kane is in those pictures, which is really scary to me. And I bought these pictures, and they are professionally done. They were done by like a real photographer, in 1991, and they're very good. They're like museum piece photos. And I posted them up on the Patreon page. You guys get to see them first. But there's other content there that no one ever gets to see other than Patreon supporters.
And we make little videos and for you guys. And it's a good way to support us and the show and the channel. And there's different tiers. So really anybody can do it if they want to. And you just get a little extra access.
Yeah, and
to our lives, I guess.
And not only do you get exclusive things that we post nowhere else up there, you, as a Patreon supporter, have access to commercial-free editions of all of our podcast episodes as well on Patreon.
It's a good way to communicate with us, too.
And our top Patreon supporters get a live, on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode. The names you'll hear now are top Patreon supporters, okay? I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Maria in Texas, Carlos, Paulette, John, Arctic Fox, Heather, Richard, David, Mike P., Rome, Wisconsin, Macho, Wesley, Nick, and Rick. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode, or just go directly to the website, patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. Patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. Well, guys, that's all the time we have for today. We will talk to you next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk to you next time.